Okay, today we're going to use the cross product. You might also know it as the butterfly method. This is probably the easiest way to solve proportions that are equal to each other. Okay, so in a proportion, a cross product is the product of the numerator of one ratio and the denominator of another ratio. The following property involving cross products can be used to solve proportions. Right, so the cross products of a proportion are equal. So if we have 3 over 4 equals 6 over 8, we can multiply these two together. 3 times 8 is 24. We multiply these two together, we get 24, right? So these are equal. So if A over B equals C over D, where these two aren't 0, then A times D equals B times C. Right, so this is why it's called the butterfly cross product, whatever you call it. It's a very common and quick way to solve. Okay, so right, we're just going to cross multiply, do our butterfly. So this one is going to be 3k times 3 equals 2 times 27. So this is 9k equals 2 times 27 is 54. Divide both sides by 9, we get k equals 6. Alright, for this one, it's a little trickier because we have a lot going on in this numerator right here. So remember, when we have a fraction, there's almost like this is a grouping symbol, right? We can have a parentheses there. So on this side, we have 7x. But we have to remember that this is 3 times the quantity of 2x plus 5. Right? So we have to put parentheses around that, and then we have to distribute. So anything old for math is usually going to come back. So we have 7x equals 6x plus 15, right? We're distributing that. Minus 6x from both sides. We get x equals 15, and we're done. Okay, this one's a little trickier because there's a negative sign. And so I just want to remind you, right? Negative 1/2 is the same thing as negative 1 over 2 is the same thing as 1 over negative 2, right? And if you don't believe me, we can look at a calculator. Alright, we have negative over the entire thing, whoops, divided by 2, right, is negative 0.5. If I make just the one negative, negative 0.5, and if I make just the two negative, negative 0.5, right? So we know that a negative number divided by a positive number, or a positive number divided by a negative number, is negative. So when we see something like this, it makes it easier if we just put the negative sign on top. I'm going to do both to show you, and then I'm going to show you the wrong way. So don't make both of them negative. I've seen some people take this and make them both negative, or they'll see like a negative 2 over negative 10 and they'll simplify that as negative 1/5. You got to be really careful with your signs. Okay, so I'm going to do 6 over 4 plus 2w equals negative 2 over w minus 10. And then I'm going to do 6 over 4 plus 2w equals 2 over negative w minus 10. So this one's trickier because we're going to have to distribute the negative sign. Let's start with this one. This one's easier. So we cross multiply. We get 6 times w minus 10 equals negative 2 times 4 plus 2w. So this is 6w minus 60 equals negative 8 minus 4w. We add 4w to both sides. We get 10w minus 60 equals negative 8. We add 60 to both sides. We get 10w equals 52, so we get w equals 5.2. If we do it over here, right, so we can distribute the negative here, or we could distribute it once we cross multiply. So let's just keep it there first. So we have 6 over 4 plus 2w equals 2 over negative w plus 10, right? And now we're going to cross multiply. So we get 8 plus 4w. So I'm skipping showing you the distribution step. I'm just doing it in my head. Equals negative 6w plus 60. And we get a similar thing. So this we're going to put all the w's on this side. We're going to put all the constants on the other side. And we get w equals 5.2 again. So it doesn't matter if you put the negative on the top or the bottom. Usually it's easy to put it on the top. I'm going to show you the wrong way, right? So we have 6 over 4 plus 2w equals negative 2 over negative w minus 10. Right, so we're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to do this one first. So we have negative 8 minus 4w equals negative 6w minus 10. Negative 6w plus 60. Excuse me. We're going to add 6w to both sides. Right, so we get negative 8 plus 2w equals 60. Add 8, so 2w equals 68. So here we get w equals 34. Right, that's not right. We know that w equals 5.2. So don't have your negative signs, right? If you see it on one, you don't just get to add it on both. That's wrong, right? Okay. You can try these two and pause the video. I would suggest you do that and then check and see if you got it right. I'm going to go through and do them now. So we're going to cross multiply. So let's do this one first. So I'm going to write out the steps, and then this one I'm not. So 7d plus 1 equals 4, 3d plus 6. Distribute it. 7d plus 7 equals, distribute it, 12d plus 24. We're going to minus 7d from both sides. That cancels. We're left with 7 equals 5d plus 24. We're going to minus 24 from both sides. And then we get 7 minus 24 is negative 17 equals 5d. Divide both sides by 5. Ugh, that's written messy. Here, we'll make a really tiny one. Divide by 5, divide by 5. We get d equals negative 17 over 5. Alright, this last one, I'm going to skip writing out the distribution step. Eventually you want to see these, and it gets sort of quick in your head. You know, you can skip a few steps and just do it in your head. You just have to make sure you're doing it right. So if you start to mess up, then I actually would suggest writing it down step by step. So when you're like doing the odds and everything, check and see if your answers are matching. Okay, so we have 11c minus 88 equals negative 22 plus 8c. Remember, you're multiplying by a negative. We're going to add 88 to both sides, and we're going to minus 8c on both sides. So this becomes 3c, that cancels. And then we're adding, so this is 66, so then we get c equals 22. Alright. Wrong paper. Okay, real life applications. Scale drawings and scale models. The floor plan below shows an example of a scale drawing. Oh, and by the way, I know I went over some of those pretty fast. Obviously, feel free to pause the video, watch it at a slower speed, watch it again. You know, the more you practice and the more often you do math, the quicker you're gonna get at it. So if you find that you're taking a lot of time on a test, you should definitely practice more. And when the test comes, you'll be a lot quicker. You might even be quicker than me. Okay, so a scale drawing is a two-dimensional drawing of an object in which the dimensions of the drawing are in proportion to the dimensions of the object. A scale model... A scale model is a three-dimensional model of an object in which the dimensions of the model are in proportion to the dimensions of the object. Okay, so this is how we see it, right? They're using the colon version, so instead of doing 1 over 12, they're doing 1 to 12. So it's saying 1, right? We could say this is like 1 inch for every 12 feet. Or it could be like, for every 1 inch in the drawing, it's 12 feet in real life. So, I'll write that. For every 1 inch in the drawing, it's 12 feet in real life. Right? Like if I did this, right, I was like, scale drawing over real life would be 1 to 12 inch feet. Remember, we always want our units. Units are super important with scales. Okay, use a metric ruler to establish the distance from Cincinnati, Ohio to Cleveland. So we have Cincinnati, Ohio to Cleveland. If you have a ruler on you, feel free to try for yourself. If not, no worries. So we have a ruler. We go Cincinnati to Cleveland. I'm just going to draw it, because why not? Right, we can see 0, 4, so we have 4 centimeters. So 4 centimeters. So we need to figure out how many kilometers. But we have our scale. So 1 centimeter equals 85 kilometers. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply. And the units should actually work themselves out. Like, they should be the same, right? So 4, okay, let's think. 2 times 85 would be 170, right? Yeah. So 4 times 85 would be 340. So we have 340 centimeters, kilometers, right? I'm just timesing the units along with it to show you that the units should equal each other. Equals, you know, let's make this x. X times 1 is just x, centimeters, kilometers. So these units are the same. We see that x is equal to 340. But to be more specific, it is 340 kilometers. Right, because here we are just solving for x. So don't multiply. You don't have to multiply out the units. I was just showing you that if you did, they should be the same. Right, but it's 340 kilometers. Make sure you have your units in your answer, or else it's not going to make any sense, especially when we're in scale models, because I won't know what you mean. I'll be like, is it 340 centimeters? Is it 340 kilometers? Okay, so the ship model kits sold at a hobby store have a scale of 1 foot to 600 foot. A completed model of the Queen Elizabeth II is 1.6 feet long. Estimate the actual length. Right, so let's do model over actual. Sometimes it's nice to actually just start with some words, and it's easier to match the word problem to the numbers, right? So we know that model is 1 foot, and we know that actual is 600 feet. And so we have a model, again, 1.6 feet, and now we're looking for our actual. So we can cross multiply this. We get 600 times 1.6 equals x. So I am going to use my calculator for that. 600 times 1.6 equals 960. So x equals 960 feet. So cross multiplying is a really helpful way to solve. You just want to be careful that you're doing everything the same, right? Like if we look here, everything on the top was model, right? Model, our scale, and then our model. So if you switch these up by some chance, like if you're not careful, you're going to get a completely wrong answer. So just make sure you're being careful that what you want on the top is the same, right? It's always going to be model on the top. And you could switch it. You could actually have done like actual over model, right? So we have 600 over 1 foot, and then our actual, we don't know, 1.6. If we cross multiplied, we would have gotten the same. So it doesn't matter which one goes on top, it just matters that you keep it the same, right? The top is always model and the bottom is always actual, or the top is always actual and the bottom is always model. So go through, do these practice problems, and check your answers.